Welcome to another episode of HE Matters. I'm Izzy Levy. I'm a digital learning designer in the College of Business and Law, and I'm here today with some of our UWE student digital leaders. I'll hand it over to them to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Sas, and I am a second-year aerospace engineering student, but I'm done with my second year and I'm on placement year right now, and I am one of the digital student leads as well.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm on my third year of computer science, specializing in the AI section, and hopefully I'll be graduating this year.
Hi, my name is Anik. I do robotics, and in my third year, and hopefully I'll be graduating this year.
All right, fantastic. In this episode, the student digital leaders are going to share some of their experience and some of their perspectives on all things relating to AI in higher ed. So I'll start off by just asking you all to tell us a little bit about kind of how you and your peers at UWE are using AI.
Okay, so I think because of our generation, we use AI quite a lot, even for little things. Personally, right now, I don't use it as much for my work stuff than I did when I was studying my second year and first year. We use it, well, I personally use it for a lot of summarizing for notes. And then we would put a prompt in and then try to make our answers look a bit nicer as well. Because obviously there are international students who their first language is not English. So obviously they use prompts and they just put their answers in, just make it be like, oh, can you make it look better? Can you make it look nicer? I do a lot for my reports and assignments. But something that came in handy in the past few months was generating images that just like give me an edge on presentations. So when I have, say, for example, a presentation I'm doing on engine per se, 'cause aerospace, I would just put it as a prompt and then get an image and just put it as the full backdrop. That makes it looks a bit nice as well, and they know what I'm exactly talking about. So that came in a lot handy. That's just the minuscule level of stuff we use. But yeah, what about you guys?
Yeah, so AI right now at this point of time, it's a really amazing tool. Its use cases like massive. All these companies, how they're using them is really nice. So you can't really cover how students use it in all ways, but generally speaking, it's more like summarizing the notes, even generating presentations. Like there's new AIs that generate the whole presentation for you. Just tell it like how you want it to be, and it would animate it and all that for you. Also, a very good tool students use is Studiosity. It like reviews any like drafts that you have. It gives you formalized feedback, so it's kind of like within an ethical use of AI. It helps you learn. Yeah. What about you, Anik?
I think essentially I use AI in like everyday life. I use it for decision making. I use it for note taking, note preparation, exam preparation, and I also use it during my internship, which is something that a lot of the companies are using like every other day. It's very helpful for businesses. Henceforth, we were told to like really rinse it as much as we can during work environment as well as school. But beyond that, I use it to organize my life and make much more calculated decision making based on point scoring system. So let's say I'm trying to organize my calendar. I key in metrics that help me identify which task to get done as fast as possible, and it would essentially arrange my calendar for me. So I don't have to do that, which would probably take 2-3 hours. So essentially it does help a lot, but yeah.
From a staff perspective, use it, for example, in actually similar ways in terms of what you mentioned, in terms of like, you know, trying to achieve a particular tone or like trying to improve, maybe like when I make LinkedIn or other social media posts for the digital learning team, I'll you know, plug some material into Copilot and have it sort of tailored for that particular platform. Yeah, so that's at least from my non-student perspective, how I use it. Yeah,
I have another question.
Yeah, sure.
I am quite curious to understand what are the difficulties as a staff using AI, and also what is the thing that has saved a lot of time for you as a staff member, besides emails, you know? Yeah.
I'm going to be a little sneaky and turn that question back
Oh,
on
okay,
you,
okay.
if that's okay, because I feel like one question from a staff and maybe also particularly an academic perspective is I think, there's a varying degrees of feelings of confidence in terms of how to use AI, in terms of what use cases it's good for. So I guess I would ask you all if for example, if a staff member, an academic came to you and said like, how can I use AI to improve my efficiency in my work, or maybe sort of in things like preparing for teaching, what advice would you give them?
Essentially, it's really good at summarizing stuff. So any lecture presentations you want to really prepare for students, it's a good idea to, I guess, get the structure or the bone structure and like lay the presentation on that. So like fill in your expertise into that and like present that instead of like just asking the AI to generate general information. Yes, other than that, you could also like point students to useful tools like Studiosity again. This can help, I guess, save efficiency on your side, as you would need feedback not as often, but yeah.
I think, I would like to add on to the last bit. I personally use it to get opinions as well. So if I do something and then be like, what would someone studying in this field particularly perceive that as? So I think that would be great for staff to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. What would a student from this generation think about this? And then they can target key areas based off of the database they have. They're like, oh, these areas could be improved. The language could be improved. This. Maybe have more pictures, visuals, stuff like that. Because obviously a thing that myself and students don't like is the fact that if you have too many words on it, and then you just have no idea what's happening because the lecturer is trying to make you understand it, but you're also trying to read it, and that just doesn't work at lectures. So if they have like more pictures and like smaller titles, they can grasp it, and the lecturer can help understand it. So stuff like that, just to get an opinion of someone else's mindset would be helpful when using AI for staff, I guess. Yeah.
I can't say for all staff because I think different lecturers would have different methods which were comfortable, suited for their course in specific. It's different for coding, different for economics, different for business. So maybe my suggestion is to, well, not only from what Sasrindu said about understanding the key points in your notes and seeing how students might take that, I think it would be great if lecturers can design the course in a way that is more accessible for different learning styles, which is something I'm always advocating because I'm not a audio or a visual learner. I'm a learner when I do practical. So practical sessions are more important to me. So when I enter classes with a visual and audio sort of thing, I have to interact with it just to stay on board. So I think if staff can have more than one specific way of teaching, and teaching has been for a long time, it has been the teacher speaks something and then the student listens and take notes. It's been one style. If they can incorporate that for, say, if a lesson's an hour, every 10 minutes, I'm not saying it has to be this way, I'm just giving an example, as in, if it can be like every time you switch around depending on your class learners and tailor the teaching style to the students, I think it would be very, very beneficial for someone who are different learning styles or dyslexia or anything else. And I know the university gives a lot of like support for different styles, but I think it should be more emphasized. Not that they're not being emphasized, but I can't speak for every single department. But as for engineering, I would really like that to be a bit more emphasized. Yeah.
Can I ask you all we talked a little bit about how maybe staff academics feel like different levels of confidence with AI. How about students? Do you feel like students at UWE have kind of different levels of confidence? Do you feel like some are more hesitant? What's kind of your perception of how your peers are feeling about it?
That is a very good question because I think I kind of personally relate to that as well. There were norms, I would say, when first AI came out back in the day. I'm talking back in the day, but it was just a few years ago. But there was a lot of universities that said no to AI as well. They made it a strict factor that like, oh, we are not going to have AI in our curriculum, or we won't let our students use AI. But obviously that changed quickly given the rapid growth of AI and how students actually used it. I personally use it quite a bit and it's very helpful. So there are obviously levels of comfortability of how well you can use it, because AI is again expanding very rapidly, even for students to keep up with it. So if you are really engaged with it, you keep up with it. But certain students, they stick to one platform. If they're comfortable with it, they'll stick with it. Because I know, for example, a lot of people, there's memes and jokes around it that they stick to ChatGPT. But obviously, that's not like the only AI platform that exists. There's many others. So if you're engaged with that and you're interested in it, then you keep up with it. But obviously, that was the norm that, oh, we shouldn't use AI. That kind of, that's side effects from using AI and whatnot. But from this generation, I believe a lot of students are actually engaged with it and they actually want it. Even if they say they don't, they actually do use it. So a lot of students are actually using AI even though they deny it or they say they won't. Because it is a very helpful tool. It's just you need to know to what extent you actually need it and to what extent you don't need it. So if you use it overly, then comes the disadvantages. But yeah, obviously it's similar to staff. There's a spectrum of students who use it and who don't use it, but most students actually use it. It's just they've chosen their platforms that they're comfortable with and they just stick to it. So
I'm gonna emphasize on what
Yes.
you built on. So I agree a lot. Like students will likely be dishonest about AI usage. So what I would say is academics should be more open-minded, I guess, in a way. So I guess if it's encouraged to use it, but in a responsible way, and if they could demonstrate how it could be used, students would likely use it the right way and go about it. As for the confidence of students, I feel like it's half-half. I've met some students that refuse to use it entirely. That's because they feel like they aren't learning them the right way, I guess, and it would be doing all the work for them. But I know a lot of students that use it in their daily life, whether that's making their timetables, anything, I guess preparing learning materials as well that they could look over. And for example, in my course, I know a lot of people that ask it to generate code so they can review best practices in a way and learn from that. How about you? How is it in your course?
Course specific, I kind of wanted to take it a little bit different approach in terms of not just course, but I think as a digital leader, and we interact with a lot of students, so I think whenever I come across students who want help with AI, specifically in careers, making a CV, I think me and Sasarindu had a couple of takes on helping students use AI to optimize CV using prompts, and we help a lot of students with prompt engineering. So that has been something that was not only useful, but it sparked an idea that students aren't aware the capabilities of AI, especially when job hunting as well. We're not saying write the whole CV for you. We're saying write down what you know about yourself and get AI to enhance it in a way that bypasses ATS tracking system. And that makes everything a whole lot easier for people trying to apply for hundreds and hundreds of jobs. So it's been really, really helpful for students, and what we do as student digital leaders has made an impact in, I don't know the figures, but quite a lot of students experiences. But yeah.
I'd like to add one more thing on that as well. I think UWE is pretty forward with it. The fact that we're having a podcast to talk about AI and how students use AI is showing that the university is moving in the right direction. And the fact that we have our roles and the fact that we can actually help students, like Anik said, is because of the university support as well. So I think it's pretty good that UWE is moving forward with AI and how to use AI. I've had certain assessments where they give us a criteria on like, okay, this is the extent that you can use AI to. So everyone's clear like, oh, okay, I can use AI, but like to that extent only. So which is really helpful because some students, they just blatantly use AI for the whole thing and they just have no idea what they're doing, which staff members doesn't agree to, the university doesn't agree to, and at the end of the day, students get no benefit from it as well. So I think it's good that universities move forward and higher education starts talking about using AI in their curriculum. So in that perspective, UWE is doing a pretty good job, in my opinion.
Oh, there's so much from that I want to pick up on. One thing that maybe I'll return to later is this careers aspect that you brought up, Anik. But while we're talking for now about things like assessment or sort of like revision prep and stuff like that, I think I noticed both of you mentioning that there are some ways that students can use AI that support their learning, and there are some ways that students might use AI to maybe replace learning, or that you feel like might be less ethical ways of using it. So I just wanted to ask you all, like, what is your kind of point of view on how students should be using AI responsibly, and like what the issues are in terms of using it in an ethical way that, again, supports the learning process rather than just overriding it.
I truly think everyone should be taking advantage of AI because it really, really makes you more efficient. I mean, if I don't use AI, I feel like I would spend hours on something that could have been done in way less. But at the same time, I think it's the journey or like the problem solving that really builds the critical thinking. You don't want it to just like give you the answer. You want to think about it in a way. So like you come up with your own idea or approach, even if it's not like the best approach, you're still learning.
A principle, I agree with what Michael said, but a principle that I personally use is if I don't understand what it gives me, I'm not learning. So if I know what like the prompt I put in and the response AI gives me, if I understand the process of what they think and what, the process of how they got to that answer, if I understand that, which means I know what it's doing and I know how I got there. So if someone blatantly just puts the answer they got in somewhere else, like maybe a report or even an exam question, that means they're not learning. So that's the principle I stick to. So if I understand the process that AI goes through, that means I learned. If not, I need to like ask them to either say elaborate on this particular sector that I don't understand, or like maybe do it in a different way that I would understand. Because for example, a math equation, there's multiple ways of doing it, multiple formulas. So if I don't understand the formula they use, I'm like, what's the formula you use? So like, for example, can you do it in this particular way so I understand it better? So if students do that, they understand it. So I think that's more ethical than just blindly just following what they say. Because there were things where it still goes on. It says like AI generated content is not 100% accurate as well. So you can't like fully put your trust in it. So if you don't understand the process they're doing it, you would know whether it's correct or not. So that's just the principle I use.
But I feel like one bad side of AI is it kind of makes you lazy in a way. Like
It does.
it always, you always take the easy route.
Yeah.
I guess it's a natural reaction.
Ethics of using AI. Trying to wrap my head around ethics. I think if you're trying to debate with the AI, I think it's really, really good. Trying to understand a specific topic and saying, is my idea of it right and wrong? Self-critique. What Sasurindu has put it so well is that if you don't understand anything from the output, obviously you're not doing yourself any favors. And I just have nothing else to add because of that.
Also in like lectures, after the lecture is done, for me personally, I ask, normally during lectures, they do give like a brief overview and sometimes deeper knowledge on it, but they don't really have the time to cover everything. So what I do is I asked the AI to help me from the, I guess, earliest of basics, how it's built, and to the advanced sections, and I feel like that really helps me to learn. Yeah.
I think before AI, we had this thing called Gnocchi or something like Anki. Sorry, Anki. Essentially, it was trying to repeat questions of questions that you don't know of. So if you answer it correctly, then it stores it for a later date. So it's spaced repetition. But I think that's one thing that's so helpful for me to remember content, which is get AI to list a bunch of questions and ask you based on an algorithm that identifies how well you have answered it. So that's one way I wanted to add. But yeah.
It sounds like all three of you kind of have like developed your own personal idea of like, you've thought critically about how to use AI, and that kind of informs how you're approaching it. Do you have any advice for students or even like staff members or academics who kind of want to build their own like AI ethos, like they're sort of like rules or guidelines personally about how they might want to use AI?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you do have to look at how the university sees it first and always follow the ethical guidelines there. I mean, you can really adjust it to how you want it, to your preference of teaching or learning style.
When it comes to using AI, my top tip is to have an already preset, pre-trained ecosystem of AI models. So I have like 5 different AI models that has very specific tasks. Logic, understanding of passages, and also like quick summaries in my tone and in the way I understand. So that ecosystem feeds into my Notion repository so that I can quickly take a specific note that I want, say long format, Q&A, or even very short, precise. I have everything there because I have a ecosystem of everything that I need. A step further would be automating everything using NAN or Zapier, but that's in the future. But pro tip is use a customized AI for customized task, and also have it collaborate with one another. Like the CEO of NVIDIA says he has like 4 different AI running in 4 different PC setups. So try to replicate that, and that should help you give the most optimal answer, but also customize the answer to fit your needs.
Like Anik said, he's the perfect guy for this. We almost had a session where we tried to explain students how they can use AI and like the best practices when it comes to that as well. I think personally, obviously it depends on the way you think and what your beliefs and morals are. Obviously you still have to follow the university's procedures and like whatever company you work with, whatever policies they have. But underneath that, as long as you stick to your morals and then you don't like, what's the word for it? Okay, that's an English word for it, but I cannot remember that right now. But as long as you don't use it in a way that harms other people as well, or like you don't take advantage of it so that it gives discredit to someone else. For example, you take someone else's work, you put it to AI, and you just generate it in your own way, but that's not exactly your work. So that's, I would say, is not moral. So those ethics, general ethics of being a decent human being comes to that as well. But I think Anik explained the best way I could. So yeah.
Like rules you can set for AI, for example. Make sure you always verify the answer and like not always just trust it blindly, because it does hallucinate, meaning it does give wrong facts. It's data that it's trained on contains a lot of stereotypes and a lot of bias. So like it could favor a different type of race or different gender. So we do have to be careful with that one.
Yeah, this all kind of comes down to like knowing, kind of having that like critical knowledge about not just what AI can do in a positive sense, but also kind of what some of the maybe drawbacks or pitfalls that you've got to be aware of are. So it sounds like that's been definitely a part of how you all approach it. I kind of wanted to circle back, if that's all right, to what Anik mentioned about careers. Just because, you said that this is something that you end up having a lot of really useful conversations with students about, and I just wanted to know if you, Anik or I don't know, all three of you, if you had more thoughts about kind of how students will how students can kind of approach AI when they're thinking about careers, when they're thinking about the workplace.
Well, let's start with CV first, and then we'll talk about work-life usage, workplace usage. I think when it comes to CV, it's always good to find that specific job description. And then once you located the job description, you can identify the keywords that the jobs are you looking for, and then you can modify your CV accordingly, and that would boost your chances of getting the interview. And also, say I made an orange juice, and I think if you got AI to rewrite it for you, I precisely put in that lime, etc. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is that it helps you make your sentences much more professional. And I think that's something that's very, very useful for students because we haven't been working in a professional environment. So it's really, really nice. And as for workplace environment, I think a lot of people really like KPIs, key performance index. Indicators, my bad. Key performance indicators. And when it comes to that, I think AI can give you a good metrics which you can feed into Excel sheets to identify performance of very specific task. So say I'm trying to create a pipeline for product design or something like that. I can use AI to critique my strategy and rate it based on specific metrics. And from that metrics, we can improve and improve and improve. Then Excel sheet will explain how well you're improving. I use AI for my day-to-day performance in terms of mental health, well-being, lots and lots of things. It can give you a metrics, and you can identify it with a graph to see how well you're doing per day. So that gives a visual of like how things are going personally, professionally, anything. So I think that's something that should be done regularly by students, staff, anyone who wants to like upgrade their performance in their own personal life, or if they want a really good work-life experience, etc. But yeah, that's for me. Really interested to see what you guys think about it as well.
I feel like it is a bit tricky using AI and CVs because let's say all of us are doing it. It makes you like everyone has very similar, I guess, format, and like makes you stand out less in a way. And another thing I've seen is companies often frown upon using AI to build your CV, and it's quite ironic because they shortlist candidates using AI. So that's a bit funny.
Can I counteract that point? Is
Yeah,
that
go ahead,
allowed?
absolutely.
Okay. So my point is essentially write down everything about you, your strengths, weaknesses, and then get AI to nitpick which one suits for the job. I'm not trying to say that generate a whole CV that gives you garbage. Generate the CV based on what you know about me gives you something that you can pick and choose or edit later on, which is much more better compared to spending 2-3 hours working on your CV yourself. But yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously, just make sure it isn't obviously AI generated. Obviously, it doesn't. It sounds more human, add a personal touch, I guess.
I agree with what both of them said because I've kind of seen the difference as well. So if you just blatantly ask AI, you put your CV and you put your job description, you're like, oh, can you make this tailored to like what the job description says? Sometimes it doesn't give the best of responses. You have to put in your manual input and be like, okay, you know what, I want to change this up. But there's also benefits to it. You'd be like, oh, I didn't realize this could sound like that. Say, for example, you had an experience where you volunteered 1 month to do something. And there might be skills there that the company is very interested in. And the AI might have picked on it, but you haven't. So it's good that you have your own input because you know what at the end of the day, the right thing for you for that company. But at some points, you might not realize this is a good benefit as well that you can include an AI side and put it in it. So it's like a really good balance of using AI and using manual input. But personally, I've used it many times to work on my CV because at the stage where like the current job market is kind of very saturated, you need a lot of help you can, and you can't always waste 2 to 3 hours just making one CV for a specific job role. So AI in that stage kind of helps you a lot. In the workplace, for example, it's the same as the university and what staff does. So you need to follow the policy of what the company says of how you can use AI, because at that stage, it's a pretty big risk because you're working for the company, you have the company's data and whatnot. So you make sure you don't expose it to anyone, competitors, etc. I work in like a software company, so they're very keen on using AI on like their platforms as well, and that's something I've realized in the workplace as well. So all the companies, they try to incorporate at least one key component of AI, even if it's just like an online chat for their website. They just want to have AI incorporated because as the world is moving forward, no one's just going to have a static website. They're going to have some sort of AI incorporated. So what most companies does it, they don't create the AI from scratch. They normally partner up with an already existing platform or already existing code out there, and they make it personalized for their website or their business, and then they use it. So in that case, if you, for example, as a student, wanted to work in that company, you have experience, you know how to use AI, you know what the drawbacks are, you've used different platforms, so you know which one is the best. And when you work there, you have a higher chance of like getting into that project or contributing much better because you have experience as a student. So I think it's always best as a student, you use AI, get to know about it, because in the workplace, at the end of the day, you will have to use it at one point. Even if it's like a very manual labor job, say production line, something like that, at the end of the day, there's a software bit behind it as well. So like to analyze how much production you made, blah, 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 blah. So using AI in that stage as well is very convenient and efficient for them to like manage their stocks, manage their production line, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, AI is going to be there at one point, and it'll just make your business and whatever the company you're working in easier. So having that skill of knowing AI is very important.
It is interesting that you mentioned that sort of this could be a competitive edge for students going out into their careers, because I know that one concern that some students might have is that the rise of AI in the professional world might limit their job prospects. And I'm wondering if that's something that you feel like you've heard from peers, or if you would have any maybe words of advice for students who are concerned about that.
Yes and no. Yes, there are some repetitive jobs that kind of get, I would say, not completely cut off, but like most of your responsibility is gone. And some companies might think like, oh, there's no point having that role anymore. But at the same time, because of the use of AI, there are other roles that open up. Like, oh, they want to develop the AI a bit more. They want to make it specialize in certain thing, or they want, say for example, you have no software background, whatnot, but you worked in customer experience, you worked with people, customers, clients, whatnot, and you need someone to train the AI module for your business. So there are job openings like that because of the experience you have that you can't just code it in AI. So 50-50, I guess, but there are concerns of like, oh, you might lose your job roles or your responsibilities, but at the same time, your experience is not like devalued. You might be let go of, for example, because I've seen some in like the news and whatnot, because of obviously the labor cuts and whatnot. So there are those stuff, but as much as the jobs get closed down because of AI, other jobs do open up as well. So it's like a 50-50 in my opinion, I think.
During my time working for my internship, we noticed that a lot of like SMEs are really afraid, and their employees are afraid, obviously, that AI is going to take over their job. And I work in the creative sector, and because of all of that stuff, there is a pushback in implementing AI in workplaces. And obviously certain parts of it has been used by AI, but because it can take away that specific tedious workload, say for creative agencies, you can definitely pour in more time making your craft, attaching to people's like emotions, catching attention, a great hook. Those are all human based. There are certain things that only humans can do because you can feel, you can understand, you have that background growing up as a kid, which AI cannot replicate. At least at this point, AI won't understand emotions and stuff. So you can tell the AI to do what you want to do. But in terms of making a humanely possible decision, I think that has to be done by a human being. Same thing goes to like when you're creating a product. You want to create a product that really like hits the person right where it tended to be. Algorithms can't do that for everyone. Different people have different backgrounds. The algorithm won't know, Izzy, this is how you grow up. Ain't gonna know that. So it can definitely pinpoint some stuff for the user to choose, and then afterwards people behind the background with the scene, with the experience, with the like childhood sort of thing, then can influence how the direction of the company and stuff. And that's where like people should understand that this is not to replace everyone. This is rather to help people boost, to express, to ideate, turn a idea into reality. And that's what everyone should emphasize on, rather than thinking like, oh no, it's going to replace my job, essentially. But yeah.
You know, I actually heard about this exact topic from a lecturer who intensively did research on this with statistics and all that. And apparently, since AI is pretty new, it's still building up, companies don't really know how to integrate it with it. So once we reach that point where companies, I guess, now know how to integrate it into their ecosystem, there would probably be more job roles in the rising, and thus more people can get jobs, hopefully.
So just to wrap things up, is there anything, I guess if you had to think about like one kind of message that you wanted to end on for, I don't know, like the wider audience at UWE, whether that's students, whether that's staff, one thing that maybe you want to emphasize about the role of AI in higher ed?
Yeah, so it's good for all the students and staff that are reluctant on using it. It's good that you're very careful. It is very good. But it's going to reach a point where everything, well, most of the stuff will have AI integrated. So just learn how to use it and using it responsibly.
What I would say is, I would like to mention a small metaphor. Before the calculator was brought up, everyone used to do math by hand, and when the calculator first came up, it was like a norm as well. They were like, "Oh, you can't use the calculator; it just, it makes you dumber, blah 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 blah." So I think, but it's come to the point that we literally have a calculator on our phones, on our laptops, on our computers. So I feel like we should perceive AI as that as well. I encourage everyone to use it, and regardless of what generation, what education you have, like Michael said, try to get to know AI, try to engage with it. And for most of the students, I don't think we even have to tell them, they just use it. They're very open to it, and because of the way they grow up, at one point they'll have to use AI, whether it's workplace, personal life, they'll have to like meet with it, just like how people had to use the calculator in all the exams. But what I would say is, if you don't understand what it's saying, you're probably not learning. So use it the right way as well. So be very careful. It's just as if it's any other thing. So it's a good skill, but you can't overuse it. You can't make the worst out of it as well. So just as long as you use it properly, it'll help you at the end of the day. So yeah.
So I just wanted to say, student digital leaders, we're here to help. If anyone wants a question, we're down at the makerspace, right by the works, which is in the one zone. So definitely give us a shout if it helps. Yeah, we're happy to help out any way that we can. But yeah.
All right, thank you all, and thank you for joining us. And please don't forget to subscribe, and follow across our networks, and come on back for the next installation of HE Matters.